我觉得第一次打 LPL，然后有一些压力，就导致自己发挥不出自己本来的水平。所以说，希望在这2周的学习后，在接下来的比赛我能打出自己应有的水平。我觉得我们俱乐部现在学员之间氛围都很好，大家都易于交流，所以就希望大家能保持正常水平，就很容易赢得比赛胜利。
Welcome back, everyone. You just heard from Bing about how he's not quite playing up to standards, to what he's expecting in this mid lane. Well, he's really going to have to step it up here because BLG have brought their A game, or should I say their Ornn game, and now FPX have got to try to deal with that in Game 2.
Yeah, Bing is a crucial member for this team as well of FPX and their success running around on the Rift. If Athena's running rampant, if Amazing J's running rampant, there are a couple of places where they really do need to reassess themselves and come back into Game 2 with some extra layers.
So then let's get into that. So, of course, big priority for this, BLG, they've got side selection. We'll see if they go towards blue side or red. But these picks for FPX are going to have to change. They cannot allow that Ornn or that Ryze to go through again.
And something we said in the post-game that we have to reiterate here is that Ornn may still get let through, but first and foremost, side selection choices as well. If they started on blue side, FPX maybe on red side this time. A lot of these teams, I know Clement was talking about it before the show, seem to prefer blue side. So for FPX to lose on that side of the Rift is always going to be a cause for concern and something that they'll have to consider coming into the next game. For me, Ryze is something that they should be looking at as a higher priority, perhaps even banning that one away instead of the Azir at this stage. Even though Athena's Azir is fantastic, the Ryze just, it unlocked too much.
It creates such a scary thing when you've got Ryze teleporting or Sand Soldiers erupting over the wall, not to mention the Ornn Horn.
And most importantly, the Ryze is tanky.
Yes.
He can build an Abyssal Mask, and he's never going to die in his lane, especially against a Galio. They're just going to be two tanks butting heads and equalized amounts of pressure. The difference was Holy made through that top lane, but it was all compliments of the jungler in the mid lane that allowed that to happen.
Yeah, and though we did see some impressive play from Athena, SKS very early on put a lot of pressure onto Pepper, invaded his jungle multiple times on that Kha'Zix. And I remember before the game, I actually asked you, was SKS the guy who had that super crazy aggressive Rengar game that one time? And you were like, yeah, I think so. Now I have no question. We have seen that he can be that aggressive guy. And if he does it again, then Pepper could be in trouble.
SKS is the, he's the stalker, you know, he's the cookie jar of the junglers, he's the sometimes food. And when he does show up like that, when he does get the chance to be aggressive, you see delightful things coming out of him. And in the second game, it's important that the jungler steps up from FPX to counter that fact, because SKS doesn't really change his style.
Well, we'll have to find out if that will be the case. Our casters are ready to get us into game. Let's hear from Fish and Clement.
Thank you very much, Dominic, Dom, Roma, as well as Zach Rusty Pie. We are about to get into game number 2 of this best of 3 series. Currently, Bilibili Gaming are up 1-0 over FunPlus Phoenix, and it worked out exactly how we thought this would go. FunPlus Phoenix aggressive early, didn't work out for them. Bilibili Gaming punished them in that match, as well as them not being able to do too much late game.
Yeah, and now we're going to see Bilibili Gaming head back to the blue side as production just dialed us in on that. So we're looking at a lot of ban pick problems coming out from FPX. FPX still haven't found a win yet on their red side. What they like to do is they like to counter pick for the Goon. Now, Goon has played 8 champions top lane, has tried to counter in terms of the Ornn, try to find counters in terms of the Gangplank, and he's picked things like the Urgot and the Kled, but none have worked so far. So I'm wondering if that's still going to be the same strategy coming out from FPX, or are they going to give that counter pick to someone else?
We'll keep tabs to see how FunPlus Phoenix decide to draft against Bilibili Gaming. Again, one thing that we have to mention, Clement, is FPX are a team that like to play aggressive early into the match. We saw Pepper try to be aggressive on the Lee Sin, but he was punished heavily by SKS, who we have had our doubts and concerns about, especially around his champion pool. Picked up the Kha'Zix this game, looked absolutely fine.
Yeah, and I have to say, I feel like that was a good read from SKS, but also a bit of a fail on Pepper's part. If you want to do a level 2 gank, you do it immediately. You don't take your Raptors, so the enemy jungler is now level 3 and comes back to haunt you. We really didn't get to see FPX play their composition out, which was collapse on the invade, because Lee Sin was so far behind.
Which punished them even heavier when BLG were able to rotate towards top side of the map and do exactly what we said would happen in the last Champion Select, which was punish Gimgoon's gangplank. But enough of that, let's get into the second match of this best of 3. Already the bans have been completed in the first ban phase. Cogmore, Jarvan, and Camille are the 3 bans that come out from BLG, whereas FPX, they take away Azir, Sejuani, and Ornn. Vladimir instantly locked in for BLG, with Ryze and Tarek being taken away by FPX.
So a lot of these are very standard respect bans coming out from both sides right there. LWX's Kog'Maw especially scary. Now this BLG Vladimir could be a flex pick into the mid lane, so we're not really sure where that's going to go. FunPlus Phoenix, however, is going to go for the Snake Shell, where it provides so much good engage. You Cosmic Radiance, and then you pull the Realm Warp for an instant, unstoppable, invulnerable engage.
So let's see if they can use that composition wisely from FPX and see what else they decide to throw into that Realm Warp with Tarek. SKS, though, will go back to the Kha'Zix pick, as Sejuani and Jarvan, his 2 more comfortable champions, have been taken off the table. And we'll have to see what they round out their first draft of team compositions with. Vladimir is one of them that gets constantly banned out by the opposition team, which they got first pick, and Kalista gets picked up by Jin Zhao. We said Sivir was one of his comfort champions in the last match. Well, he's definitely comfortable on Kalista as well.
It's kind of an interesting look on Jin Zhao's face. Kalista so far not a champion that they have picked a lot this split. They really do prefer kind of the hyper carries. They picked the Caitlyn, the Tristana a bit more than the Kalista. Kind of new look for them, because if you have a Kalista, it is going to force you to play bot side.
On top of that, we've seen a couple of teams move away from the Kalista pick. And we even had a question last week, are LPL teams dropping the Kalista? The answer was no. They still pick up the Kalista from time to time. Whereas Rek'Sai is the pick-up of choice for FunPlus Phoenix. Not something we see very often in the current meta, but from time to time is a jungle pick.
And we do see it a lot as a counter pick against the Kha'Zix. This does not allow Kha'Zix to engage on you in terms of team fights. You can always hear him when he's coming in.
Heading into the second ban phase, we're going to have Galio banned out by FPX, and Varus, the ban that comes out from BLG. Still waiting to see what else they're going to target out here. LWX's champion pool so far being hit by BLG, whereas Athena is the one that FPX have been trying to lock down.
Yeah, FPX do feel like this Vladimir could potentially still just be an ordinary top laner. Banning out the global composition away from the Kha'Zix and Shen combo. Now, Road has been one of the big Shen players, Shen supports in the LPL. Already picked it up twice. For BLG right now, I do think they're thinking about the Tristana. Yeah, they do ban the Tristana away because that's such a good combination into the Kalista. Kalista, if they have just 1v1 scenario, actually loses out to the Tristana. And if you throw Tarek on top of that, it actually becomes a very difficult matchup.
LWX can always go back towards the Ezreal, which he played in the last match, and we were harping and harping on the fact that one team fight where LWX looked really strong.
Oh, he's so close.
A bit too hyper-aggressive, costed FPX the turnaround over that Baron play. He does go back towards the Ezreal in the bottom lane, pairing up with the Tarek.
BLG still have a possible mid or top, and then also a support to pick up. Supports, we're looking at Alistar is still definitely open if they want to go that aggressive shell.
They've got a lot of aggressive champions at the bottom lane they can go towards. As you mentioned, Alistar's one of them. Tahm Kench still up and available if they want to go back towards the safe route. But you're right with your first choice there, Clement. Alistar, the lock-in for Road in the bottom lane.
LPL definitely loves their Alistar ever since Ming started to use that unsealed spellbook. Very popular pick, can play defensive and aggressive at the same time.
To be fair, when does the LPL not love their Alistar, Clement?
Ever since Mata was around, Ming was around, there's been a lot of good Alistar players. Oh, this is a first for Athena.
Is Athena going to answer your question, Clement?
Does he play the Zoe?
Athena plays Zoe? And the answer is yes. Athena does play Zoe, and he's going to lock it in for game number 2.
How often do you see that? A last pick blue side Zoe. Going for the Kled against the Vladimir. We've seen Gimgoon do this into this exact matchup. Did not work out for him on the first time. I'm a great Kled player myself. I wouldn't say great.
That's a lie.
I'm a main, Kled main myself.
I've played with your Kled.
Oh, come on. I started the game 10-0-0, man.
And then what happened?
And then
you charged into the team.
Well,
alone.
Well,
without the rest of our team.
If you guys had more kills, it would have worked. That's all I'm going to leave it at.
But Gimgu does pick up one of your signature champions, Clement, of the Kled in the top lane. As you mentioned, we've seen this into the Vlad. Is this going to be another Spellbook against Spellbook matchup?
Well, last time I'm not sure he actually brought the Spellbook. There's a couple of masteries we've seen being built on Kled. We've seen the Airy being built in Korean Challenger, and also Licorice from NA brought the Grass of the Undying. What I think is most important for this matchup, personally, I do believe celerity is really the key there. You want to be able to walk the Vladimir down every time he goes past the halfway mark in the top lane. Definitely in a 1v1 scenario, it's a very good matchup for the Kled, but the reason it failed last time for Gimgoon is because Pepper fell so far behind.
Oh no. Not those signs again. Amazing Jay. There's quite a few fans here in the audience today, Clement, and they all love to bring plenty of memes and signs for him.
Very popular personality here in the LPL. That confidence does do it for you.
When we get into this second match, we'll be able to talk about that top lane matchup a little bit more, especially since you have a lot of experience of the champion that Gimgoon's picked up today, the Kled. But top lane's one of those lanes, Clement, that we haven't seen, you know, a particular keystone mastery make its home on the top side of the map. We see Comment coming out from Camille, then we see a lot of unsealed spellbooks from all the way from Kled to Vladimir.
Yeah, a lot of the others trees have been kind of neglected. Domination, nobody really takes that top lane. And also, in terms of the Resolve tree, there isn't really a good mastery you would want to take there. So it really comes down to either Inspiration or Sorcery, which are the two most common ones we see.
Uh-oh.
Oh, the cowbell.
No.
Don't pan to him.
Don't
encourage
I left
him.
this behind when I left the OPL. Don't! Make it stop! Okay, they heard me, so they did make it stop, Clement.
One way or the other. It's a good thing that you
found a way.
can't hear the cowbell during pauses.
Thank goodness. That was an old. There was an old bug where you used to be able to hear the last audio cue in the game when you went into a pause. That used to be frustrating. Thank goodness
yeah,
that's
I
been
remember
fixed.
the Corky helicopter for the entire game. That was pretty nice.
You know, let's not jinx it, because I don't want cowbells to be sounding throughout my ear, because I know that they will make it play. But we are in a we are in a pause here, so we'll have to see what's going on. Hopefully, be able to get that delay fixed as soon as we can. Gives us some time to talk about these two teams, Clement, especially the fact of Bilibili Gaming storming into the LPL. We know that historically they've been able to make great runs in the LPL, especially back when they were IMA, made the big run of LSPL all the way to Worlds in a single year. Now, looking like a contender in their conference to try and take one of the top spots moving out of the group stages.
Yeah, they currently, if they take this series, they will be 4-2, and that would place them on the same pedestal as Snake. Of course, they would be second because they did lose the head-to-head, but still the top spot.
Snake has just been looking like one of the dominant teams who have got a perfect read on the meta at the moment. Whereas for FPX, they're going to be going into cross-conference as well next week, but they still have another game to play within their own group, only picking up a single win. Surprise, surprise, though, who it's going to be up against, as we actually do get a chance to look at all the keystones. So many unsealed spellbooks, Clement. There's just so many of them.
Yeah, I feel like the summoner cooldown reduction is just such a big part of pro play right now.
25%?
Yeah. If you don't have it, it means that every time you trade summoners, then the person that does use Unsealed Spellbook can come back for a repeat game. And the success rate for that is going to skyrocket just because of that rune. Also in the top lane, if you want to get an early kill and you want to bring Ignite, Unsealed Spellbook is the best rune for you there as well. And we can see Gimgoon opting into that.
He has opted into that, which is good against Vladimir. Whereas for Amazing J, Clement, he's gone for Smite on his Vladimir. You see he helped out SKS nice and early, so SKS has cleared the entire top side of his jungle.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. Like, how did you lose the jungle clear speed? Their top lane smited for them. So So that does kind of equalize the starting positions. You can start your top side and be on equal footing with junglers that started their bottom side.
No combat summoner spell, however, for for Amazing J. So Gimgoon can try and take advantage of that. In fact, Pepper is already making his way into the top side of the map, looking to see if he can get anything cheeky going against Amazing J, who has a ward in the river, so he should be perfectly safe and fine. But for now, we'll have to keep track of these junglers, because SKS is slightly accelerated, and Rek'Sai is, you know, one of those a little bit more unorthodox junglers that we see from time to time, but not very frequently.
Yep. Does have kind of a harder gank path here. His best choice would actually be to go to the enemy blast cone and then come over the wall. Just decides to do his golems instead.
Yep. Then SKS, with the acceleration he got from Amazing J, has been able to sneak into Pepper's jungle, take away a camp for himself. In fact, Alistar and Kalista being pulled out early just to give him some cover, but both junglers will head back to base. We talked a little bit about Bilibili Gaming earlier, Clement. FunPlus Phoenix, as we've mentioned over and over again, they opened the LPL with a very surprising game where they were not able to win, but they still looked like a good team. And then they were able to pick up a single win the week after. But since then, no wins for them, Clement. It just seems like this is a good team with a lot of problems still that have been denying them their victories.
Well, what we've really seen is their problems in the early game have kind of compounded upon themselves. Pepper, though he has his moments, also has his very, very bad games. Most notably that FPX does have the worst blowout games in the LPL. We saw this last series against WE where the Azir missed his ult, missed his EQ combo, and then lost his mid turret very, very early on in the game. What they do need to learn is how to recover from their bad starts. And here we're seeing the runes coming out from Vladimir.
Yeah, Amazing J going into the domination tree second after Inspiration. Magical Boots picked up, as well as the stopwatch. Just gives you so much gold efficiency, Clement. Gives you 900 gold efficiency flat, and then you also get the additional bonus of having faster boots for the rest of the game.
Magical footwear, it's probably the most popular rune right now. It does give you a lot of free gold there. And I just want to talk about a little bit about the early game, how we saw another great clear from SKS. Actually decided to not take his red buff, go into the enemy jungle, steal away 2 camps, and then come back. It's giving so much ability for the bot lane to actually just push in and kind of bully out that lane. We can see a small CS lead coming out from Jin Zhao already.
If Pepper can't farm anything on the bottom side of the map, the time he spends in the bottom lane is wasted. But they're looking to try and collapse onto Road. Blast Cone is there. Good lockdown. They bring him over towards the Dragon Pit, though. Road jumps back over. Ignite onto B. Flushes away. And Athena had heal on his W, so he's able to save him. And now they're going to put Tag to sleep. SKS flashes forward. Crisp is so much trouble.
Someone hit the dragon?
We'll be able to get out through the backside of the pit.
Oh.
And FPX lose 2 flashes there, Clement.
That was a great play from Road right there. Gets knocked down and then flashes down and then comes back up again to avoid all the damage. And if Athena had one more skill shot, able to trigger that what is it? Cloud Drake? Yeah, Cloud Drake.
Oh, Cloud Drake.
Yeah, he would have been able to have killed Crisp right there.
Meanwhile, top side of the map, Gimgoon has hit level 6 and trades aggressively against Amazing J.
And you can see the way you want to trade against this Vladimir is you want to walk up to him. Your base movement speed is 25 points faster than the Vladimir, so you want to walk up to him, proc your E, have your second E, and just kind of walk him down in lane.
We can already see that Amazing J has gone back to base, picked up the teleport for himself, as well as a couple of items. Whereas Gimgoon, he's just sitting fine top side of the map. He doesn't have to recall anytime soon.
But you do kind of need a lot of kills early against this Vladimir. If they just kind of develop naturally, the Vladimir will have a lot more wave clear potential, and at that point it becomes almost impossible for the Kled to win the lane. So even though it does seem like Gimgoon is able to bully the Vladimir a little bit, I wouldn't say this is a good situation for him. He still needs to be further ahead.
And already the teleports into the bottom lane, Clement. Chris is going to return down, hold the minion wave for LWX, who does not have the luxury of picking up Unsealed Spellbook. As Rhodes the one that goes for a gank in the mid lane. No flash available for the Alistar, means he can't collapse onto Bing, who sidesteps the Sleepy Trouble Bubble as well. But Kleptomancy, this is some of the spell that we only really see picked up by 2 or 3 champions. Gangplank as well as Ezreal, the 2 that really come to mind. Then we also have Fiora's picking up from time to time. But it's kind of a necessity on those champions who can just accelerate the amount of gold they pick up so much during the laning phase.
Yeah, and we do have a nerf for Kleptomancy coming out in 8.2. the tables are being changed, so they'll get less stuff. Right now, I do think it's a bit overpowered on things like Gangplank, who can always get that 13-minute Triforce.
But still an 8.1, so still a very powerful summon as well. We'll have to see how it affects competitive play when we do move over to patch 8.2.
Yeah. I can't wait to explain why Nunu is permabanned.
Oh no, let's not go into that until we have to go into that.
Okay. We'll leave that for
Let's keep
next
that
week.
in the cage for a while. No, we don't have to deal with Nunu just yet. Whereas Athena still picking up weird items in the mid lane. Hextech GLP gets picked up for herself. Misses that minion, so won't get another one on her W. But still harassing away at Bing. Not going to be able to land that Paddle Star.
They are running the all-star combination between Fofo and Karsa, the Zoe and Callista combo. Unfortunately for them, they still haven't been able to find an opening into the enemy jungle. And I actually think Rek'Sai can avoid most of the Sleepy Trouble bubbles just with his sonar. Her sonar, excuse me.
And again, we touched on this in Champion Select. Athena picking up the Zoe, a champion that we didn't expect either Bing nor Athena to pick up in this match because neither of them have really played it yet.
Yeah, that is a very interesting thing to see, that last pickup being Zoe. And I think it's important because in 8.2, her win rate actually skyrockets even more. Now with the minion aggro being on for targeted abilities, we see Zoe has an even easier time in lane. So I think it's a very important champion that I feel like Bing should be able to pick up after Chinese New Year. If he doesn't, that's such a huge detriment to your ban pick phase.
I mean, potentially he could already play the champion, just hasn't found the opportunity to do so with FunPlus Phoenix. Well, we'll have to see if they do pick it up later on the season. For now, in this match for BLG, they have got the Zoe, so massive pick potential. Bing does get his champion, does get a chance to play Rise in this match, which we saw Athena play to good success in the last match for BLG.
And BLG really playing off their bot lane super well here. We could see SKS. This is the second time he invaded into the enemy jungle. Set up so much vision in that quadrant. And could BLG get their first streak of the LPL?
Potentially. We'll have to keep track of that. Let's see if SKS does it. But as you mentioned, there's just so many wards placed down in FunPlus Phoenix's blue side of the jungle. It's been lit up like a Christmas tree. Only one in the jungle for the side of BLG that was placed down by FPX. Close to the Raptor camp, just above red buff.
I don't feel like FPX is playing around their top side well enough. They did counterpick for Gimgoon. He hasn't gotten any kills, which I would actually put him behind at this point, to be honest. He is going in right now, though.
We're going to try and get a gank in the mid lane against Zoe. In fact, Road using teleport to jump into the mid lane to help him out. Athena was perfectly fine, didn't even have to use any summoner spells to get away.
We could see in the top lane a full rotation coming out from Gimgoon, and Amazing J able to heal up instantly. So that counterpick is no longer going to work for Gimgoon.
Tiamat already complete for Gimgoon, whereas Amazing J just picks up the arm guards. Looking to complete the Spell Thief's Edge soon into a Frost Queen's Claim.
This is a bad spot for the Kled because he can't force the Vladimir out of lane with just his Violent Tendency 4 shots. And once Vladimir is able to out-sustain him with the later Qs after that combo, then you pretty much can't do anything to him in lane. So far this counterpick not looking so good for FPX. What I really wanted him out of this draft was a early engine, something that they could snowball off of. Unlike the first game where they really didn't find their groove, in this game I kind of wanted them to do something for Gimgoon, like snowball his lane a little bit, but it's looking like a very passive game all across the board for FPX, and that's just not a good look for them.
Especially since they're a team that relies on their early game aggression. BLG, on the other hand, they're happy to play this one late. We've seen what they can do before, all the way back to when they were IMA with late game plays. So they should be fairly comfortable in the spot they're in right now. And as you mentioned, they're the ones with the reverse matchup. Oh no, that's a redemption being picked up by Zoe, which is just horrible to look at when she has the item.
Oh, what do you mean? You
She
don't
just
like
send it
Death by
bottom lane.
Redemption?
No, not Death by Redemption. They could just send it bottom lane and heal up the bottom lane duo.
Yeah, they could do that as well.
Whereas unfortunately, it doesn't look like BLG would be able to pick up their first dragon in the game yet here, because they optimized to go towards Rift Herald instead for SKS, while Cloud Dragon is the focus of choice for Pepper.
That's a smart move there from BLG, even though getting your stats right would be kind of cool, but Herald is definitely a higher priority pick right here.
Yeah, getting stats right or winning games. I still think they would pick winning games here, Clement.
Definitely.
As Athena's been able to pick up
Ooh,
a teleport.
Gimgoon knows this though.
Oh, he's being aggressive, actually going to charge on towards SKS. makes him drop Rift Herald aggro. So BLG don't even get the pick onto that objective.
I'm not sure FPX actually has a scaling
Oh,
advantage
hello.
this game. Oh!
Gimgoon
Taking
sneaks
over.
into the Rift Herald pit, picks it up for himself. Meanwhile, SKS goes toe-to-toe against Pepper. Pepper jumps back out with the ultimate, uses a stopwatch in the last second to avoid Amazing J's damage, but a final transfusion will be able to take him down. SKS, though, locked down by Gimgoon, will be the return kill picked up by FPX. And they're still going here. Bing as well as Chris looking to try and lock down Amazing J. Flashes away from the Tarek stun.
Even though the first kill does go over to BLG, I do feel like overall that was advantage to FPX. They now have their Herald and also the mid lane flashes.
Top of that, Gimgoon gets a kill on top of the map. Is equalized by Amazing J, but he has the Rift Herald now as well, Gimgoon. He must be pretty happy with that pleasant surprise.
Yeah. In terms of scaling for the late game, I'm not sure FPX can actually find any solace that this game is going so slow. They do have a composition that needs to walk up to BLG. And BLG have the Alistar and they also have the Zoe poke.
Uh-oh. Good night, Rise. Can he go for it? Nah, Athena decides not to jump in too deep for that kill. Zoe's just a scary champion.
Yeah. In terms of Kled, he's actually not a very good scaling champion. Once it gets to the late game in 5v5 team fights, the enemy team can't decide who to tank that charge shot for them. He is a kind of a pick you really want to snowball early. So this is FPX really need to find a way to start things in this game. And I think a lot of it is going to come down to this first Herald placement.
Let's see, he is grouping up in the mid lane, or wandering around the river, I should say. And we'll have that Rift Herald for some time. Gives him an empowered recall if he holds on to it, and when he places it down, can be used to chip away at turrets. BLG, however, they seem fairly happy with playing this one slow. FunPlus Phoenix, definitely a team that you don't look at and say they'd be happy to wait the game out, but they do have some decent scaling on their side as well. Zoe's going to be able to pick up her own blue buff. Blue screens the blue buff.
I just feel like the only way FPX actually kind of wins this game late is if they can sync up the Realm Warp into Cosmic Radiance combo and also layer that with Gimgoon's charge. If they can get that engage off, then maybe, but just as a team that kind of walks at their enemies, you're running into an Alistar, a Vladimir, a Kha'Zix with Evolved W, a Zoe. Looks really, really hard for them. And they're also not getting much luck from the Drakes. FPX would like to start a fight, but these Drakes are pretty forgettable for BLG. They could just elect to...
However, they have found Jin Zhao here, getting good damage from Pepper. Didn't flash away from the knockup in time. Pops his own ultimate, uses a stopwatch as the rest of Bilibili Gaming watch helplessly as the AD carry gets taken down.
Good damage coming out right there. Able to take the catch. And Gimgoon going aggressive as soon as he sees SKS on the bot side. This does look like a tower for FPX.
That is the pick they really needed in that match. Now they're going to put pressure on not only the mid lane with the charge coming out from Kled, looking to lock down Athena. He goes through the wall, and Bing's going to chase through as well. That cleanse being used by Athena is going to be enough. Road jumps in, gets a double pulverize, and now SKS jumping in as well. That's 2 stopwatches used already.
Amazing Bing, as well.
He's going to go to sleep. There's the blue screen on Rise, and too much damage going to come out from Athena. SKS helps out with that kill. Full-blown team fight now, Clement, as Amazing massive 4-man knockup, turns around the fight, another stopwatch being used as Gimgoon's going to be the next one to fall, gets back on top of Clan, another stopwatch on top of that as Athena goes golden once more, knocked back by Road, and Jin Zhao gets that kill. BLG turn around the team fight.
And this is, again, FPX, I feel like they're trying to do too much at the same time. So their bottom lane, 3 people were trying to take down the tower, while 2 people were trying to start the fight. Perfect timing. It allows BLG to really get Amazing J and also Road back into the fight at the same time. We could see that should have been a teleport from Road right there.
We also had LWX snipe Athena after that team fight with the True Shot Barrage.
Cool.
It's just a little pick off coming up from FPX to try and pull that back. Still dead even in gold. Unfortunately, it feels like Gimgoon's kind of forgotten what Rift Herald does, because that's expired.
Yeah, Now this was actually a very good charge. You can see the way he uses it, cuts off the entire path, and once Athena was targeted, the flash actually didn't work. What he should have done was wait for the charge to hit and then flash. He would have been out. And there's just a 4v2 situation while the rest of FPX are still trying to get that bot lane.
Road plays this team fight amazingly though.
Yeah.
He gets thrown in and then goes for the combo knockup.
Oh, wow. So that's a 7-man knockup in total. Just from Road right there.
And after this, we get the League of Stopwatches. Everyone just goes golden for a little bit, taking turns. And Game Goon falls at the end of that team fight. Athena gets sniped off once the team fight disperses, but it will be FPX to rotate towards the top side of the map. They take down the top lane outer turret, and now have 2 turrets to nothing against BLG.
FPX able to kind of stay in this game and snowball ahead a little bit by getting picks on the map. The pick from Jinzhao and the pick from SKS gave them those free objectives. But so far in the team fighting, I don't think they have a definitive advantage. Being a little bit too greedy on that last couple of fights.
Amazing Jay as well. He's scaling up quite nicely now that all the stopwatches have been broken. Except for the one on Road, I believe, is the only one that's left up. He has his own Zhonya's Hourglass. So the Vladimir should be able to do well in these late game team fights. Already has Ghost picked up on his Vladimir, so he can move around team fights a little bit more efficiently as well.
This is going to be such a huge problem for FPX down the line. Imagine having to teleport your forces into a Vladimir. That doesn't sound like a very fun thing to do.
FPX trying to start up this Ocean Dragon. Rise is down there. Game Goon has teleport available.
FPX could look to start this fight. This would be one of their best chances.
BLG don't have vision over towards the Dragon. It gets taken away by Pepper. However, Rise gets put to sleep, and the Paddle Star comes through, but Road, he breaks the sleep early, doesn't get the additional damage. Meanwhile, still trying to put out that crowd control. Ultimate comes out from Tarek. Chris in some trouble, as once again Athena's going to try and jump back in. Amazing Jay with a great ultimate backlines. Road jumps in and just pulverizes the ground, knocking everyone up, and it's only going to be the jungler left up. Double kill picked up by SKS. Chris and Bing barely escaped that team fight.
Oh man, FPX must have felt so bad. He ulted, wasn't able to get on the Realm Warp, and his team was just like, bye-bye. Instantly going for the Baron call from BLG. So FPX, that was a good opportunity for them to fight, but unfortunately their team was completely cut off in different positions. You could see that FPX were trying to draw BLG to the high ground and allow Pepper to escape. BLG was having none of that.
And immediately, the massive swing coming out there. Smite was picked up by Athena after it was used by SKS, allowing them to get that double smite off. Here's the team fight again.
Yeah, and this team fight was really about the positioning from BLG right here. They had like the middle ground, and they were able to cut FPX kind of in half. Backs out with the Cosmic Radiance. Great move right there. Amazing Jay flashes in 4-man ultimate, and then we could see the FPX call to retreat. Pepper, unfortunately, kind of left out.
Does get 3 people out of that team fight. However, BLG swing that small team fight over Dragon into a Baron play, picking up 1,000 gold lead for themselves, and they still have 3 minutes of the buff to work with.
I just wonder if FPX were able to hold their ground and just like move to the left side of the fight so they could have Gimgoon and Pepper with them as a 5v5. I felt like that positioning would have been much more superior rather than having LWX up on side the ramp. Now, I know like LWX up on the ramp is a very safe position for him to dish out damage, but it really kind of left the left side to dry for FPX.
Did not work out well for them. However, FPX still not out of this game, Comment. Despite staring across from a Baron buff, they still have all their outer turrets up and available. Athena is actually split pushing at the moment. He's moving in towards the top side of the map, looking to get some damage onto this top lane turret.
No one really coming to stop him in time. They're just going to give this tower over.
No, BLG do split push with Zoe, pick up a turret top side of the map. Meanwhile, we start being on the bottom lane, pushing in for that inner turret against BLG. But Baron buff is incredibly powerful this early in the game, allowing them to take down 2 outer turrets, propelling themselves to about 3,000 gold ahead. The gold is still dead even in terms of what items they have, though, because they have not gone back to shop just yet. FPX could look for a team fight.
FPX really only have 1 shot at this. They need to sync up their ultimates very well for this team fight to work. Well, I feel like BLG is just going to force them into a team fighting position.
Athena picks up a teleport and just rejoins the rest of the team in the mid lane, looking for Trouble Bubbles, looking for Paddle Stars. But it's going to be BLG that slowly chip away at this inner turret and take it down, increasing their advantage. They're going to continue pushing through here, Clement.
FPX are going to be forced to fight sometime soon. They don't want this inhibitor going down so early in the game.
They're trying. LDRX tries to trim out the wave, but there's still a big cannon minion there as Pepper just gets chunked out below half health by one Paddle Star from Athena, playing very aggressive, very forward on the Zoe.
This is the wave they should probably go in now.
But they can't jump in just yet. Gimgoon's waiting for it. Chris tries to throw out the Dazzle, doesn't stun anyone from the side of BLG. Turret falls, and now Inhibitor is bare to be taken by BLG if they push in.
Here they come.
Gimgoon's going to charge in. Road blocks it, standing in front. Now at half health, Amazing J, however, forced to flash back out. Road jumps back in with the ultimate available for himself. Pops it a little bit too late, and Pepper jumps in. Gimgoon looking to try and dive into the backlines, but Athena gets the first kill in that team fight. Invulnerability is going to wear off, and Gimgoon gets to spout it off for Cled. Trying to run back in. Big pulverize coming out for Road, and they try to escape through Rise, but that's a flash forward. Jinjiao. Double kill gets picked up by Jinjiao as they continue chasing forward. Athena flashing on top. SKS gets the next one, and BLG storm into the base. That could be it, Clement.
Teleport coming in also. I feel like FPX kind of messed up their engage a little bit. Like we said before, Road was willing to block that ultimate from the Kled. That's why Kled is not a very good scaling teamfight champion. And the rest of it, I felt like the Realm Warp was kind of a missed opportunity. Didn't send people back, actually held on to that to escape a losing teamfight.
The low health bars from BLG force them away from the Nexus. They do, however, get the inhibitor as well as a single Nexus turret. And FPX, they try to put up a last stand, but it does not work out against BLG.
What FPX should have done was they should have layered their ultimates, the Realm Warp and the Cosmic Radiance straight into the backline. And that's an Ocean Drake.
Great. And that's Baron Pit.
And that was our team fight.
Great team fight from both Ocean and Baron, who were absent the entire time. However, Gimgoon returns into the bottom lane, trying to clear out this wave that has been set up by BLG.
Yeah, so just to wrap up that team fight, even though we didn't get to see it, what should have happened was the Cosmic Radiance should have been on Pepper when he went in, and the Realm Warp should have been there too, so they could instantly target out the backline of Zoe and Callista. That unfortunately did not happen. They held on to those ultimates. Pepper did not get the Cosmic Radiance, dies on his first wave in, and I just felt like this missed coordination there. We can see that again. This is after Gimgoon's ultimate was already used. There's a lot of low players here on Road, on Bilibili. Goes in, you can see Cosmic Radiance not on Pepper. He dies instantly when he goes in. Realm Warp also not being used for the team fight.
Callista as well, just so strong against Tarek's ultimate. Throws the sticks into people while they're invulnerable, rips them back out once the buff wears out. BLG turn around the fight initiated by FPX. They take a lot of turrets inside the base of FPX, I should say, as they're now pushing towards the bottom lane. No Baron buff available, but they are now incredibly far ahead. 7,000 gold up over FPX and slowly chipping away.
And FPX are going to have no further chances to catch out members from Bilibili. It's going to be such a difficult team fight for them to actually win. Here comes Gimgoon.
Looking to charge into the fight. Road gets locked down first once again. Still has the ultimate available. Will pop it pretty late here. Fairly low on the Alistar, and BLG decided just going to disengage from the team fight instead.
It's a very careful, measured play coming out from BLG.
Gives FPX some breathing room. They retreat back into their base and deal with the super minions that are pushing in from the mid lane. BLG now will be able to take down an Ocean Dragon for themselves. Baron comes up in a minute on top of that.
It's kind of an interesting type of playstyle. Gimgoon doesn't have his ultimate, but BLG feel like they should play it safe and wait on that flash from Callista. Taking it safe. They don't really have anything to kind of, like, FPX is not going to scale better than them at any point in the game. So, you know, I think it's an okay move to do for BLG.
They're fairly comfortable with the gold lead. They have 8,000 gold up over FPX. They've been able to shop as well, pick up a couple of items for themselves, whereas FPX struggling to find avenues to attack in this game. They get Gimgoon with the initiations, but every single time, Road has been the one that's in front, the one that's ready to stop him during the charge.
Oh, and you just hate that when you're playing Kled. It's like, why is this support so smart? How good would it be if I could run into Athena?
Rhode's been a big MVP factor in this match. Been playing very well so far. Athena's actually going to swap out one of his summoner spells for Teleport to rejoin the rest of the team as Baron spawns.
Looking for a fight now. He has the heal. Instantly
BLG started up instantly. Pepper's going to spot this one out with a Tremor Sense as well. Was throwing over the Prey Seeker. And it's going to be Gimgu that charged in straight away. Again, Rode is there to meet him. Takes half his health and damage, pops the ultimate, and becomes incredibly tanky. FPX trying to fight this one nice and slow. Rode's in trouble. J going for the initiation. Gets good damage down. Realm Walk, Taric ultimate gets them out of harm's way. But it's still BLG with the fight. Good chip damage onto them. Rogue gets delivered to the backlines. No ultimate available for this Alistar, but it's starting a full-blown team fight. Look at SKS taking up 2-on-1 in the backlines. Big as his first target. He gets taken down, forcing Tay to jump away, but he's gone. Good night, Chris. Double kill picked up by the Kazakhs as LWX is his next target. Gets taken down. Amazing J with the kill, and FPX get decimated here by Bilibili Gaming. Only Pepper left up, but not for long, as that's an ace picked up by BLG.
Perfect ace coming out from BLG. Kites out the first portion of the fight and then goes back in. Once Amazing J was among FPX carries, you knew that team fight was over.
And they're just going to group up with everybody left up and available for BLG, taking it nice and slow. Inhibitors actually going to respawn, stopping them from ending the game right there. With the death time, it just looked like they're a little bit too long here for FPX. And BLG pick up the clean 2-0 in this series.
And FPX there, they knew they had no other way but to engage on that fight. They couldn't really hope for a steal against the Kalista and the over-leveled SKS. So they went in for that team fight, but again, it was a bit too little too late. I really think the turning moments for this series, or for that game, excuse me, were the team fights. Bilibili were able to hold their ground and even come out ahead. If the FPX were able to win those mid-game team fights, they could have had a chance with their composition. But once it went to the late game, I felt like Bilibili were able to outscale them. And a huge thing they're going to be looking for is their priority in team fights about splitting their members up. So if we looked at the bot lane, that first time when they were taking that bot tower, they were split up. When they were taking that Drake fight, they were also split up. And both times they let Bilibili kind of dictate the way the team fight was played.
On top of that, FPX are known as the early aggressors. They're the ones that need to get that early leads. If not, it's difficult for them to play
around
the rest of the
Goon.
game.
If you give him the counter pick, you need to play around him.
And he didn't get any love in the top side of the map, as Kled was able to, keep Amazing J locked down for a short amount of time. He picked up a few early kills for himself as well throughout the rest of the map. But the late game team fights, he was blocked by Rode every single time, who had a great performance on the Alistar.
That's the reason you see the Alistar ban out so much, especially the Kalista-Alistar combo. Going over to BLG, I feel like BLG, for this game, they're really making a statement about themselves. We can play the Zoe. We can play the Kalista and Alistar. It's going to make other teams so much more difficult to ban them out.
And we've already said that BLG are making a run for top of this group, or at least one of the top few. They've done well so far. That'll be the last match they'll play in this part of the group stage before they move into cross-conference. Coming out with a 4-2 score is pretty impressive for them.
Does secure them the at least second place in the East, in the West, excuse me.
We'll see more of them heading into the cross-conference. FPX still have another game to play in their current group. However, although they started strong in the LPL, recently they've been looking a little bit more lackluster, Clement, almost as if they've been exposing their weaknesses from game to game.
Yeah, we really don't see much out of them outside of Pepper having good early games. I think that's the main issue with them. Their late game team fights, while they have been good at times, have also been pretty poor other times, and they take these blowout losses early, like just the game one we saw today. Another huge mistake for Pepper. Pretty much game ends right there, and they haven't been able to play around their top lane either, so really lacking in depth for FPX.
However, it was a big victory coming out from BLG there, picking up the 2-0 over FunPlus Phoenix. To break that series down a little bit more, let's send it back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Matthew Fish Stewart and Clement Chu, ladies and gentlemen, on that cast. A very exciting matchup. Now that we know what those names stand for, Rusty, I got to ask you, What does BLG stand for?
I can't remember if there's 1 or 2 Billies in it, but it's definitely got Billy there, and they did look like a good team regardless, BLG, in this set. They were able to play 2 different styles, and that's the best part for me. You know, game 1, they stomped the early game. A mistake from Pepper at level 2. The rest of the game was just run over by BLG. They got advantages. Amazing J looked amazing. That still happened with Amazing J looking amazing, but the way that they won in game number 2 was much more around the team fighting and playing better around 5v5 scenarios, and they did that in the mid-game, not just the early game with a lead.
Yeah, and it did look a little scary for FPX in the beginning because they were taking plays. They were finding picks, taking those early dragons, and trying to move themselves around the map. And I got to admit, I was looking a little concerned, like, oh no, BLG, they're falling back on the miracle play style. They have to wait for the late game for the Hail Mary, but then they just doubled down and turned it right back around.
Yeah, honestly, the fights, like, and to kick it off as well, BLG did look good in this game. FPX actually started good as well coming into mid-game. We expected these big fights, and this is the first one that you're looking at. It starts well for FPX. They always do. They're always the ones engaging. They're always the one Kled charging, but Road teleported mid. He then gets the double headbutt. Kalista then arrives, and Road makes another big play on top of that. Meanwhile, you have to give credit to the rest of the roster. Athena, I should say, actually shows mastery of his champion. The first time we've seen him on Zoe. Amazing J's team fighting was immaculate, but they're able to do this damage. They're able to output all of this pressure and do so much work strictly because they have Road standing in front of them. Strictly because Amazing J is hitting fight after fight. Hemoplaying on multiple people. His pressure was ridiculous, and every single time FPX started a fight off, it felt like they lacked focus. Yeah. They couldn't kill someone, and then when no one was dead, it just turns on its head against them.
It seemed like the only plan ended up turning around to be, how do we escape this fight? How do we escape this bad position that we suddenly have found ourselves in? They had a couple of great teleport escapes with those realm warps to get away from bad situations, but you can't always save everyone, and we saw the disastrous results of what happens when someone gets left behind.
And I like the concept of FPX's composition if the Rise is used as a disengage tool, because they can go forwards, they have a Taric, so the way that their comp works is Kled will charge, everyone runs in. Taric actually puts the stun onto the Kled, so whoever he charges at is stunned. They lock down and kill that target. But against a Kalista, it's just completely countered. Against an Alistar, it's also being countered because they can't kill that person. And so as compositions go, I do feel like FPX were just bested a little bit, and that was evidenced through every single time they tried to engage. I like Kled into Vladimir. I don't like Kled into the Alistar Kalista bottom lane, where they just press a note button.
Yeah, and tragically that note button was not quite enough to keep themselves alive because, like Fish said during the cast, once you get Kallistus getting those spear stacks up, once you get the Hemo Plague stacked up from Amazing J, it just becomes so difficult. As a result, Amazing J was able to do huge damage in these fights. He's going to take our man of the match again. 3-0-10. The guy is deathless today, Rusty.
Yeah, absolute blinder of a series coming out of Amazing J. Game 1 was a tank, so I'm not surprised that he didn't die when he was ahead there. But game number 2, playing the Vladimir, the amount of work he was doing in team fights was incredible. And it just shows that BLG, when they've got a performing top laner, they look so much better. Diversified styles, diversified ability to play team fights. And it's not just Amazing J, though this is a highlight reel for him after the Road highlights. It was Road working with him seamlessly. This one's a 4-man ultimate coming out of him. He is just... You'd be so salty that Rise is able to get everybody out alive, just barely. Otherwise, they were all dead compliments of that Vladimir engage. And that was the last straw for FPX there in that game.
Yeah, tragically, they just weren't able to turn it around. And again, this is FPX still showing, hey, they've got that decisiveness that we like from a young team. They are taking the chances with these fights, but they don't just quite have the experience just yet to close it out, to really take an early advantage and run away with it.
Yeah, and it does feel like a fair amount of that actually comes back to exploring different drafting options for them, because I like on red side that they counterpick for Gimgoon, but if they're losing the rest of the map, then they need to entirely reassess that fact. A second pick on Taric, to me, is the biggest thing as well in that second game draft when there are counters and options against it. We saw Kalista do incredibly well. Why not pick a different role? Like, again, second ban phase and second pick phase, you can look towards support as a priority, but they don't change that priority, and I think that's where the problem is. They're a new team that have got set standards, and they never change and differentiate from the standards, and that norm is losing them games.
Well, we've already heard from them quite a bit that they are quite comfortable with the team's communication. They all seem to be be friends with each other. So if anything, that should make it easier to learn new strategies.
Yeah, it'll help.
One would hope.
It definitely would help. Coaches also have a big say in it. I don't know who drafts for the team of FPX on stage. Coach sometimes has a big input, sometimes has a small amount of input. Really depends on the coach. We know that BSYY has some very good strategies up his sleeve, but we don't know how much of a drafting influence he has. And the other thing past the drafting is in-game. Certain things that, like, you can communicate well, but when a team fight happens and chaos breaks out, it feels like the one thing they can do is say go, and then say no when they've made a mistake. They can't do the rest of the small talk in between that is usually assumed information when a team fight's happening.
Well, perhaps they'll have to learn a little bit more from the communication of these more experienced teams, but I'd like to keep talking a little bit more about the pick and ban for FPX, because they were caught by an absolute left fielder today, something that was completely unexpected. BLG, they banned Zoe in 45% of their games. They do not play it, except for when Athena decides, you know what, I think I'm going to learn a new champion, and picks it up. Very last pick for his team as a final rotation. So BLG, they came into this match prepared.
They certainly did, and credit to Athena for being able to pick up Zoe in a short time frame, understanding how important it is, and also just looking very good at it the first time that he picks up the champion. And it's a draft surprise for the opponents, and they played it very well around it.
Yeah, they certainly did. Well, looks like our first set has wrapped up with a 2-0 victory for BLG. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready for our second match. It's Vici Gaming taking on Edward Gaming. We'll be back soon.